Good evening, folks. Well, I don't know how else to say this. It's. I saw this. I saw an Andy Griffith show yesterday. I like the show very much well. On days I'm normally down, I normally watch it. It gives me a good laugh. I watched it a lot since I was a little kid. Not that I've been a down since I was a little kid, but just like to watch it. But the thing about what I'm trying to get to my point across with this, the episode I watched yesterday, Opie, obviously everyone knows who Opie is. He was he wanted to talk to his dad, which is obviously Andy Taylor and the sheriff. And he obviously has allowance, only 27 cents allowance. Obviously back then allowances were very small. And and you had to earn your money for an allowance. He made him earn it. He made him do the chores for his allowance. 25 cents. 25 cents is for his allowance. Well, this new guy came around, excuse me. Missed my words there. He made him come around and do a few other things. He was doing absolutely nothing. He was selfish, spoiled, rotten brat snowflake. And sure enough, he broke the law. On the sidewalk, he pedaled his bicycle on the sidewalk, which on the Andy Griffith show in the town of Mayberry, the make-believe town of Mayberry, that was illegal. He wasn't caught yet. That was really all in the show. However, he sped up to his friend's house and he spoke to his friend and them two were friends. I'm just going to make his name up. Gary. Gary wanted to talk to Opie. Gary told Opie, you should talk to your father about getting a raise. By doing nothing. And then Opie literally just laid on the ground throwing a temper tantrum. I mean, it was kind of funny. But my point being with the show is, that's what's wrong with this society nowadays. They throw tantrums because they're not getting their damn way. This is why our country has gone to. Our country has gone to this way because they cry because they don't get their damn way. Where Andy Taylor tells his son, we've already been through this once. You gotta earn your money to get that allowance raised. You gotta earn that money. You don't just beg for it, and that was later on the show. When he threw himself down and cried for it. Just so to get his dad's attention. But his dad just lay there and looked like, yeah, okay, you're making a damn fool out of yourself. As for the kid, he got pulled over. Well, actually, he was caught by Barney Fife, surprisingly, the dumbest one of them all. But then Andy Taylor caught up with him, said, we're going to impound this bike. But then he was so spoiled, rotten brat, he started crying. You see, he always got his way in Raleigh, North Carolina. He's from Raleigh. He came down to Mayberry thinking he'd just keep on getting his way down there. Not there. He just got that bike. The sad thing about that is, his dad was rich. His dad kept on getting everything for him. He would ask his dad for everything. So, what'd he do? He impounded the bike because he did an illegal stunt. He gave him a warning the first time. But then he started him, keep on riding on the bike path, saying, oh, you can't tell me what to do. Giving him a little sassy attitude. Well, guess what? We're impounding the bike. We don't take that kind of BS around here. That's what kind of law, man, that's what the law needs to be reconciled with. You don't give that kind of BS attitude to a lawman, and which is what these snowflakes are doing to these cops. And no wonder why these cops act like the way they do towards you. You give them a BS attitude, they're gonna give one right back to you. They're gonna tell you how it is. So with that being said, this is how it all ended. They impounded the bike. He cried and said, "I'm going to get my father after you." He said, "You go right ahead. Bring your father down here. We're going to have a nice little discussion." So the father came down, had a nice conversation. He says, "Why did you impound my son's bike?" I mean, he looked real angry, like he wanted to beat the living daylights out of Andy Taylor. He says, "I'll tell you exactly what happened." And then he went on about it. Then he says, "Well, you can either pay for it or you're going to pay for his fine. I can't hold your son in jail because he's too young. You're going to have to pay for the damage, or you can sell that bike." And then when he saw the way his son was acting, I mean, he was literally just acting like a little child, obviously, because he's an entitled snowflake, which is how these entitled snowflakes left on the left. They act like little children. See what he does? He says, "I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell the bike." And then his son literally just lost it. If only we went back to the principles we had back then, like that kind of sheriff had back then, and we taught our children and didn't spoil our children like we did, we wouldn't have this problem we have today. And I really mean that. If only we had that kind of issue like we did today, if we didn't have spoiled rotten brats like we do today. And that goes with this free education BS. I mean, how are you going to afford all that? We can't. I get it. We can't afford it. But what else are we going to have? Yeah, it sounds like something lovable, but it isn't. But he ends up selling the bike, the brand new spanking new bike. He sold it to I don't know where, because that's where it ended at. That's where the episode ended at. But you do the crime, you do the time. Things go punished. But when things go unpunished, like for this, they just keep on doing whatever the hell they want to do without punishment. But when there's punishment, people end up being thrown in jail. Or people lose property that isn't theirs when they get punished. And punishment will be thrown into jail. Or whatever the crime is. Either fine, jail, or prison. That's their choice. The law has an obligation to make a judgment on what happens. You act like a buffoon in front of them, they'll treat you like a buffoon. That's what the law does. So comply with the law, they'll comply with you. It's that simple. Well, with that being said, I gotta go. I got some things I have to do. Peace.